I started having symptoms, I would say, late summer, and I, kind of put it off. I just thought I was also feeling some fatigue and wondering, why don't I feel like cleaning my house? And something's not right. I'm only 37, so it prompted me to go to the doctor, and that just started kind of like getting the ball rolling on getting testing done. I thought I was having some digestive problems, and my doctor was all for, get whatever tests we need to get done until we get an answer. So he had ordered a couple of ultrasounds ultimately, and my abdominal area and my pelvic area, and those showed fluid. And the fluid was indicative of something really not right. And that was confirmed by a CT scan that I had in the end of October. And by that point, the CT scan showed a lot, just in a matter of months, a few months, what had transpired in my abdomen. And I'll never forget, we met my doctor. He called us into the office. So when your doctor calls you into the office, it's not usually a good thing. And my husband and myself and our son, who at the time was about 10 and a half months, went in to meet him. And he came into the room, and he had a look on his face I won't forget. And he said, "Guys, I got bad news." He said, "Jen, it looks like you have ovarian cancer, and it's spread." And he said, "I'm going to pray for you." And I said, "Well, we believe in the power of prayer. My husband and I are Christians, and we believe that God can heal me, and we believe that he may choose not to. But whatever happens, we want to glorify his name." And that has been the driving purpose, goal of this whole journey. What has gotten me through the very difficult physical, emotional, mental times is knowing that God has a great purpose in this. And if you ask a lot of people that know me, they'll testify to that as well.
Was it the news that you were expecting?
It was not shocking to me. It was not shocking to me because I had researched a little when I found out that I had fluid in my abdomen. I researched that on the internet and found that there's only a few reasons why you would have that, and ovarian cancer was one of them. And it was a moment of somewhat agony for me because I had to go to God with that, and I pleaded with him not to make me carry that burden. And after a moment, I surrendered it to him, and I just said, "Okay, your will be done. Give me the strength to do it." And it's only by his strength that I've been able to come through, and there have been many miracles along the way.
So, what did they tell you about your prognosis? You had already learned at that point that it was stage 3 right away?
I chose not to find out, actually. I kind of found out my staging by accident. That's another little side story, but I chose not to find out. I knew that God knew where the cancer was, and I was good with that. I met with an oncologist the very next day. He referred me to Dr. DiBernardo. I met with the oncologist on a Friday. Dr. DiBernardo got us in on his schedule at the end of the workday Monday, 3 days later, and I was in surgery by Wednesday. So they moved some things around for me because I believe, it was what they saw needed to be addressed quickly.
You later found out it was stage 3C?
I did, yeah. I was actually sent to a secretary within the office. I thought I was going to give her some paperwork, and I was flipping through. I was given my chart, and I was flipping through to try to find like a blood test order or something. And I came upon my chart, the part of the chart that has a staging, and it said 3C. And I looked at my husband and I said, "Oh, I guess I'm stage 3C." And that's how I found out. And it was okay. So it is what it is, it's nothing that I could have changed, and like I said, it's in God's hands. So
Did they think that when you went back and looked at it, that in hindsight that you might not survive this? I mean, I'm sure they didn't tell you that, but are the odds stacked against you? Did you later learn or not?
Well, because my hope is not in this world, I had the courage to ask my doctor, and I asked him bluntly. I think this was, I'm not sure if this was during my chemo or after chemo was done, but I said, hey, if I didn't have the surgery and the chemo, how long would I have lived? And he said, maybe a month or two at best.
Wow.
So I definitely would not be here right now. I may not have even seen my son's first birthday. So,
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
yeah.
So then what happened? They decided they needed to act quickly and the surgeries came first?
Yes, surgery, what's called a debulking surgery, is first, where they go in and they remove all visible cancer. I also had organs removed. I had a complete hysterectomy, a splenectomy, appendectomy. I had a colon resection. They had to strip my diaphragm, my bladder. It was kind of everywhere. So it was a major abdominal surgery, and but I had a really good recovery from it.
And then there was radiation and chemo, or just chemo?
Just chemo. I started chemo about 3 weeks later, and that was every 3 weeks I had a chemo infusion.
How long did that last?
That was 6 cycles of IV chemo. And then we chose to do a surgery at the end that was going to deliver a 7th round of chemo. It's called the HIPEC, and it's heated chemotherapy delivered directly to the abdomen during surgery. So I had a second look surgery after all of my IV chemo to go in, clear out scar tissue, take biopsies, correct anything that might not be looking good in the intestines and that kind of thing. And after they were all done with that, they kind of sew you up with a couple tubes in you and deliver heated chemo for 90 minutes.
And they gave you the all clear when? Do you have a date when they said you're in remission?
Well, the remission, I talked to my doctor because my blood levels had gone down below, there's 30 is kind of like the bar that's set for the CA 125. And my numbers went down below that for a couple of cycles of chemo. So I was in remission, I guess, kind of technically before I even finished my IV chemo. My blood levels, that level stayed low all the way through up to about August.
So do you consider yourself a miracle that you're here? I know you said
Oh,
sometimes
yes.
awkward when people say things. Like,
Yeah, no, it is definitely by God's grace that I am here. It is a total miracle. It's a miracle that my husband has a wife and my son has a mommy right now. And it's been difficult, but I can't say enough about how grateful I am just for every breath, every heartbeat, and it definitely makes you think more about complaining about little things that really just don't matter at the end of the day.
And then you've got this great little boy, John, who's going to be 2 in January.
Yeah.
What does that do to help you through this process? Because he's a blessing and a miracle for you as well.
Yes. Oh, well, he is definitely part of my prayer that God keep me here to help raise him, to be a wife to my husband, that we can raise him as a mother and father together, that he would also know God's grace and mercy and know what has transpired and the miracle that has occurred, that he is a miracle. And I know that, again, even if God chooses not to keep me here, that John will be taken care of, and he will know who his mommy was and what God has done through her and in her. And I just believe that with all my heart.
You're not completely out of the woods. You have another test coming up. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Yeah, my last blood test, it was in August, I believe. It was elevated. I had some complications from a previous surgery that caused some difficulty in my abdomen. And when you have inflammation and things going on in your abdomen, it can skew the test. So that number my CA-125 had more than doubled. And so I had another surgery September 30th. So my doctor wanted to wait some time to let things kind of settle down again in my abdomen before I had my blood test. And so I'm going to have that done next Wednesday on the 8th. And I'll see Dr. DiBernardo on November 10th to go over the results. I'm sorry, not the 8th, the 13th, November 13th. And I'll see Dr. DiBernardo on the 15th to find out what it is.
Okay. It could be just a test that was abnormal for other reasons, and
exactly.
You're feeling okay?
Yeah, I feel great. I mean, 5 weeks post-op, I'm probably doing a little bit more than I should be doing, but that's okay. I'm young, and I'll just say, it's okay. But I think one of the things that actually helps me physically is that I have really heavy pots and pans. They're cast iron, and as soon as I can be on my feet after a surgery, I'm cooking and building up strength, just lifting those things. So,
what would you want to say to other women about warning signs, things they should be on the lookout for?
Oh gosh, I would definitely say that if you are experiencing what you think is digestive issues, you're experiencing bloating in your abdomen that's not going away, it's not just following your monthly cycle or something, it's staying there, the fatigue, I would definitely go to your doctor and demand an ultrasound, an abdominal pelvic ultrasound. And if there's fluid on those ultrasound results, demand a CT scan. And go from there.
Very good. Is there anything else you would like to add that I haven't asked you throughout this whole process that's important?
I would say the most important thing for people, women, men, to realize that have had a cancer diagnosis, really, or anything that can be devastating news in their lives, that there is hope beyond that diagnosis. There is hope beyond cancer. There is hope beyond this life, because everything here is transient. Nothing here in this material world is going to last. And the only true hope that we can have is in Jesus Christ. And He is eternal, and He will be here forever, and He is our only true hope. And I just want to encourage people that you can't hold on to, an idea of a perfect life, an idea of, the perfect job, perfect marriage, perfect children, because it's certainly, you're in the news, it's not reality. So I would love to encourage people with the hope of the gospel.
Thank you very much. Ted, do you have any questions?
Well, when a doctor tells you, I'm going to pray for you, do you remember that moment? I mean, just kind of, my God, I'm expecting the doctor to tell me how he's going to take care of my issue.
Well, yes, to a person that does not have hope, that news would be devastating, because a doctor saying, I'm going to pray for you, sounds like, oh man, you're my only hope, and that you're going to pray for me, this must be really bad. And again, I mean, the only way I didn't completely crumble at that moment was because my hope wasn't in my doctor. My hope wasn't in even my husband and my son there. So it didn't shake me. But I would say that it's okay if you get shaken by that kind of news. It just didn't happen to me at that moment. Now, I've planned my funeral 1,000 times over, I'll say that. I've had definite moments of just despair and physical pain and agony where I cry out to God and ask Him to just completely deliver me from this. What are you possibly trying to teach me in this moment? But yeah, you have to learn quickly that human beings cannot be your anchor of strength and hope.
You had a lot of pain throughout the process, I'm assuming, through chemo, before chemo. What was the most difficult from the physical end of it?
Well, recovering from 4 major abdominal surgeries was probably the most physical pain that I've encountered. I have about a 22-inch incision, 20-inch incision that in itself hurts. But the biggest pain has been an emotional pain of walking kind of 1 foot in eternity, knowing that that's where there will be no more pain, and walking 1 foot here with a desire to want to stay here and be a mom and be a wife. And just that transition from the joy of being with Jesus to the desire to stay here and remain, to be used by Him, there's an emotional tug of war that goes on there, and it can be draining sometimes. And we thank God for the people that have supported us, our church family. I've had somebody here almost every single day, definitely throughout all my chemo, my surgery recoveries. We have had our church family here supporting us, and I can't say enough for that. And the prayer support of, who knows, thousands maybe. The prayer support of faithful people that have just carried us through this all.